Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are,
Hello.
and good night for some of you. Welcome to the best sports hour on talk radio. It's a love-based sports hour with Monali, Ingleton, and Roger. And we have so much to talk about today. So much going on. You got the World Cup cricket kicking off. You got the Winter Olympics going on, just kicking off as well. You got the Super Bowl tomorrow. You got a little tennis that happened last week. So many things are going on in this world of sports, Manali. So, what's going on in your world? Is it all cricket, or other things are happening for you as well?
No, I had a really exciting couple of hours watching the opening ceremony at the Olympics. I always enjoy watching the opening and closing
Yeah,
ceremonies. So starting to get into Olympics mode as well. A lot of Canadian athletes.
yeah. Over 200, I think.
Yes, and it's also the first Olympics ever that's most gender equal
Equal.
compared
Yeah.
to previous Olympics in the past. So a lot of exciting stuff to look forward to there. I hope Canada can medal as often as they can.
Yeah, they got,
And
I
then
think, 25, 26, 29 over the last three Olympics. But last time we only got four goals. And I know they want more than that.
it's you know what? It's sad, isn't it? Because we have so many athletes there, but the reality is a lot of our athletes are self-funded to even get there,
That's the
right?
problem.
So they're juggling lives, they're juggling bills, and yet they're training. And for them to be still, competitive at the Olympics is pretty impressive.
It
Something
is.
that Sport Canada, in my opinion, needs to look into, especially when you've got the likes of the US, where some billionaires just come in and said,
$200,000.
I'm going to give each athlete in the Olympics $200,000. Here you go.
I need to go to the Olympics for the USA. $200,000 is good money.
Great money.
Although I found out though that it's really 100 and 100,000, 100,000 to them and 100,000 in insurance.
Yeah.
But it's still 200.
It's still 200, and that doesn't include everything that the U.S. Olympic Committee then, chips
Yeah,
in and the government chips in with. So there's definitely a lot of funding for the U.S. athletes. The
100%.
Canadians, and I shouldn't say just the Canadians. Actually, I saw recently a post about one of the German Olympians who's a gold medalist in the past has actually had to fund her trip through OnlyFans.
Oh my word.
Right. And
Wow.
like you're an athlete, you would expect that you've won the gold medal, so you should not have financial problems or strains for training and competing. But that's the reality of a lot of athletes at the Olympics. They're not professional athletes.
Very true. And it's unfortunate because to be on top of your game, you got to be the professional athlete. As an amateur, juggling life and family and work and everything, it's just too much. You can't be at
Yeah.
your best all the time. That's for sure. Interesting, interesting. Well, let's go back to last week. We had this talk about the Joker, Djokovic, and Alcaraz. Of course, I said Alcaraz is the best player on the planet. What do you
Yeah.
think? At 22, he has won it all. The personal Grand Slam is done by him at 22.
I'm super happy for him, to be honest. I feel for Djokovic because I know he's still looking for that one final title, one final
Yes.
Grand Slam title. But I mean, we've got a 22-year-old who's on fire on the court, and he really can dominate.
Yes.
At that point, you just have to say, "Well played,"
Yeah.
and it is very impressive to see Alcaraz coming up through the ranks, and he's able to finish a lot of them these days. So I
Yeah,
think Sin is watching closely as well.
exactly. Showing how to play for 4 hours, showing how to finish a game.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
it was great. It was great to see, and it was a good game. I mean, Djokovic was in the game. It wasn't like it was a dominant victory. It was a close game all the way through. So it's good to watch, and I'm very happy for Alcaraz. I mean, I like when a player come and dominate because they're the best. They're the best, and they show that they are the best, and they win to show that they are the best.
Yeah.
Unlike say Sabalenka, who seems to be the best but can't figure out how to win. So I like to see
I'm,
the
I'm
best
sensing
winning.
some tension there. Is there something we should know about the Roger?
No, not at all. No, no, no. But no, it's been pretty good. Tennis has been pretty good, and yeah, I think now we can look to the next one, which is going to be the French Open all the way up in May. So we have some time to figure out tennis. But I just said the Olympics have started, and the big thing is tomorrow. Not sure what your thoughts are on it, but it's the Super Bowl.
It is a Super Bowl. I mean, I have to be honest, I'm not a very big NFL fan, which is why when I shared that post to you earlier about them going and playing at the MCG and now they're trying to globalize,
Yeah, the
it's not
Melbourne Cricket
necessarily an
Ground.
NFL thing for me. It's just it's an Americanized thing
Yes,
for me.
it
I
is.
feel
It is.
like nothing against the sport itself, but I just feel like there's so many incredible sports around the world that are native to that
Yeah.
country or that region, and the NFL wanting to expand, I guess, is good for globalizing the game, but
More money for them.
more money for them, yeah, but then more competition for some of the sports that we obviously love.
Yeah, the funds are going to go into this sport instead of the sport that we wanted to go in.
Absolutely, absolutely, more competition. I mean, it's obviously a very big game, Super Bowl. I've seen more about the entertainment factor than I
The
have about
halftime
the
show.
team, if I'm being honest.
It's all about the halftime show and how much money they're going to spend to put an ad in the halftime show.
So who are you thinking is going to take the Super Bowl?
I honestly feel that I feel that New England has an excellent opportunity to win it, but I hate New England with a passion. I actually do. So
Strong
it has to
word.
be it has to be Seattle for me. But I think New England's a great chance. But I'm going to go with Seattle. They have the best defense out there.
Mhm.
I'm not so trusting of their quarterback, so it's going to be a tough game in many ways. But I believe that it's going to be a close game, and I believe that Seattle has enough to take it home.
We'll have to see. I don't really have any picks because I don't know much about both of these teams, if I'm being completely honest. So we'll have to see. I'm going to hold you to it, though. Your prediction.
Okay, fair enough. But the funny thing, you're sounding almost like Tom Brady, who has won it 7 times, and he played for New England. Part of the reason why I hate New England. But yeah,
God.
then they're playing in the finals, and he's like, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't know who to pick. And they're like, what's wrong with this man? You're a legend in New England, and now you're saying you don't know who to pick. So I think he
Um,
started to backtrack today and say, I'm good with New England.
let's see how it plays out. It's pretty cool that you could compare me to Tom Brady, though.
Yeah, he throws that and you go like that.
That's right.
That's so funny. But quickly before we leave it, you're right about the globalization of the game. There are going to be 9 regular season games outside of America this year, 2026, right?
Yeah.
3 are going to be in London. There's one going to be in Paris, one in Mexico City. Of course, he talked about Australia, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, right? So there's another one. I forget where it is, but it's weird to see. It's really all over the world. There's Rio, Brazil, Munich, Germany, Mexico City, Madrid in Spain, England in London, 3 games, and Paris and Melbourne in Australia. So that's a lot of different games outside. The travel for these teams, it's going to be crazy, and it's just for 1 week. So let's see how that works out for them. But it's going to be definitely an interesting year in the NFL. But we'll see how it goes tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the travel aspect is going to be a real change for the players because these are long flights. We're not talking within the country, short one,
Sure.
2, 3
Yeah.
hour flights, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm really keen to see how the global community accepts American football into their own.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at Europe and they're super soccer or
Soccer,
football
yeah.
fanatics. And then you could throw in bits and pieces of cricket depending on where in Europe you are.
Yeah.
Australia already has so many of their own sports that are popular,
Yes.
and so you're integrating another one or trying to into their fabric. So it'll be really interesting for me to see how the global community wants to accept the NFL.
True, and Australian rules football already as well, so which is
Yeah.
their passion, right? So
Mhm.
you're right. It's going to be interesting to see how well it does outside. I know they have gotten big crowds in London. They've gotten big crowds in Mexico City because they've been there before. So I guess they have seen it and they're just trying to see how much they can get. So
Yeah.
kudos to them for globalizing the sport and making more money for themselves. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's pretty similar to what the NBA has done with all of their coaching aspects, isn't it, globally? And they have actually brought in a lot of these players where they see talent around the world
World and
into
yep,
the NBA. So it's definitely doable. It probably just requires a lot of investment in terms of grassroots development, which I think the NBA has done a fairly good job in a lot of
they
places.
have. They certainly have. Certainly have. All right, we have two more things to talk about before we get to cricket, lovely cricket. There's one that you mentioned about Miss Kardashian and Mr. Lewis.
Oh yeah.
So I was listening to the radio, and this guy on the radio was saying, now that he has done that, he will not even make top five in the Drivers' Championship this year. I don't know how people come with all these predictions, but what is your prediction? Do you think Lewis is going to make it to the top again, or even close to the top, or is he going to go down closer to the bottom?
So I don't want to associate any of his performances to his personal life with Kim Kardashian and whatever's happening there. Um, I know obviously there's an impact in players' lives based on what's happening in their personal lives, but I want to try and stay clear of that because we really don't know what that situation is.
Sure.
As for him, when he started this year already, he's been involved in one interview where he's kind of questioned the car and a little bit of the team setup. And I'm thinking, well, you're already starting the year off finger pointing instead of, okay, let's figure out a way forward. Listen, he is a legend. He's been at the top of his game for a very long time. I think he just needs to find a way to rediscover it. And it's kind of like that whole Djokovic situation, isn't it? You've got more talent up and coming, and
Right.
it's how do you hold on and how long can you hold on for? And he's got to figure that out by himself. I don't know, I don't know how else he's going to get someone else to figure out his mental strength through all of this.
I think, for me personally, I'm not sure if it's a mental thing because he has always dated big name stars. Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls and Rita Ora and even Rihanna. They talk about Shakira. So he has seemed to like that type of dating scene.
Kim Kardashian?
She's a billionaire. Anyway, but at the end of the day, I think he's just, I think he's doing what he loves to do. And I think he has a point about the car. Right now for the season, it's not started yet. They're just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
And they've already said that the Mercedes car is better than every other car out there.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what is bothering him to say, okay, I left Mercedes. I know they have the best car and they're supposed to be winning this year, to the point where George Russell, the top driver, is saying, get me Verstappen. I want a one-on-one with him. But he's ready to take on the world now because he believes he has the best car. Some people have already said Mercedes cannot lose this year. So maybe he's not happy with that. That's why he's talking about the car, because he probably realized before the season has even started that he's going to be up against a big challenge this year to come through. So maybe that's it. But I think he'll be fine, actually.
I understand. Obviously, this is a very different sport because the car has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
But I also think from the get-go, if that's constantly on your mind, you're spending a lot of time thinking about that than you are actually controlling the race, right? And let's say Mercedes does have the best car. It doesn't mean he's the only one competing. There are other cars in this race. There are other teams in this race. Correct. It's just he really, personally, I think he really needs to find a way to focus on his game and concentrate on his game.
And be more positive. He has come with that sort of a negative approach from the beginning, which is, as you said, it's completely wrong. You got to come in pumped up to do well, no matter what the circumstances are. And I think he's struggling with that. I think maybe he's under a lot of pressure. Maybe that's why he went for Kim. I don't know. But he's under a lot of pressure to win and to be the man that he was. And I don't know. Maybe he thinks getting Kim will make him look like he's still the man. I don't know. Maybe that's what he needs.
Sure. I'll leave it at that.
The other one we want to talk about is that thing you sent me about the penis gate in skiing in the Winter Olympics.
Yes. Oh my God. I did not ever think that this would be the point of discussion of this Winter Olympics, but I've actually, I sound really bad. I was quite invested in the research.
Okay, so what did you find out?
So for those who don't know what crotchgate is right now, there's this massive controversy in ski jump and the aerodynamics of that suit. So the Olympics allows 4 centimeters off your skin of allowance. And the dynamics behind it, the aerodynamics behind it is the bigger the surface that you have in your suit, the more aerodynamic you are. So now the controversy is the male population or the male competitors have actually been they've been injecting their parts with the substance that a lot of females use in lip augmentation, for example,
Yes.
to try and augment their body parts to give them that extra bit of surface area to then give them
There you
the
go.
additional
Service
space
area.
in their suit.
Yeah.
And there is actually a lot of science behind this. So
Correct.
for an increase of 2 centimeters, you can get an extra 5% in lift, which is
Correct.
5.8 meters in a jump.
There you go.
So obviously there's, 2 centimeters, it's almost an inch. It's a game of inches.
Oh
But
boy, no,
I
I
did go a step further and I did a little more research to this. And again, don't judge me. I just wanted to get
yes,
behind the science
I did
of
it as
this.
well. I did
Okay.
the research as well, so I'm not judging you.
So obviously, I went through and I was like, okay, well, let's see who has historically won the most medals in this event. And
Yeah.
Norway is fairly on top. Norway, Finland, Poland. But now I'm thinking, okay, well, Norway has 8 medals leading up in the long ski jump event. And then I went further and I was like, so now is there a genetic advantage that could be used for the sport?
Oh boy.
And
Okay.
so,
What did
I
you
did a
find with
quick,
that one?
very innocent Google search, genetic advantages to size that ski jumpers could potentially use. And a lot of those countries that are at the top right now are in the yellow zone, so they're the third longest in terms of size.
Okay.
Um, I think we could probably put a bit more science into this, and if we want to really capitalize, we should probably get the stronger genetic population
There you go. I know where you're going.
that's suited for it to get into the sport.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing is really fascinating because we've obviously heard of steroids and we've heard of
Yes, yes.
trying to find ways of cheating the system, but really,
I know. I was shocked. That's why I had to do the research as well. And just like you, it's surprising to see there was a lot of science behind it.
there's a
But
lot
yeah,
of science behind it.
lots. And I was like, okay, I didn't know that. But yeah, I think from a suspension and sanctions and all of that, that they've actually called people for cheating before,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, previously it has been done. So I think that's why they're making such a big deal about it because they're saying, well, okay, this is cheating. They've called the World Anti-Doping Association into this. And of course,
I
they're
just
saying,
don't know how they're going to test for something like this.
there you go.
The comments on these posts are like, women are like, where do we sign up to test for this?
So that was my question as well. It's like, how are they going to do this one? It's so amusing. But you know what? I think it's good that, I've never really paid a lot of attention to skiing, although it's fun to watch. But it's an expensive sport. That's why I think, and it has to be people that love the cold and all of that. So you won't find Africans joining, the West Indians. Or maybe not the Indians. I don't know. So let's see.
Genetic advantages, disadvantages, we've
There you go. There you go. But I found it, as you said, it was a fascinating research for me as well. I'm like, whoa, I can't
yeah,
believe this. The
yeah.
things people think about, it's like, wow. But before we leave the Winter Olympics, for me, it was really good to see that 2 Caribbean countries, Jamaica and Trinidad, are there,
Mhm.
with multiple teams as well, so it's like, okay, you're coming from the land of sun all year round and you're into the Winter Olympics and they're both going to be fairly competitive as well. So I thought
Yeah.
it was really, really good to see that these warm countries are getting into it at this point.
Nigeria has a pretty big contingent too.
Yes,
Kenya has a couple of athletes as well.
yes, yes. It's really
Um,
good to see that, we're not just saying this is our sport. The world is open to everyone for any sport you want to get into. And that's really, really good for the associations to promote that. So
obviously a lot of these athletes have dual citizenships and whatnot, or have been living elsewhere and representing. So in the context of the Olympics, I'm all for it because a lot of these are individual sports. They're not really team oriented. There isn't really much pathway development that necessarily is required. However, I know we're still not in cricket, but when we look at cricket and how some some of these teams are now competing in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Italy in one really stands out to me. And the reason it really stands out for me is, the ICC obviously really harps on the associate countries to develop pathway, get your grassroots going, get your women's program going. And Italy qualified for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Most of their players do not live in Italy. Some of them have never been to Italy, and then they obviously took a spot from the Americas contingent as one of the qualifying countries. Now, Scotland has gotten a bit of a second chance to get into the World Cup, but I'm thinking, well, you've got the likes of Scotland, you've got the likes of Netherlands. These countries are actively working and investing in developing pathway programs to make sure that it is a grassroots sport that kids can pick up and then eventually represent the country. Yeah. So if that is really what the ICC is trying to push, then how fair is it for an Italy to come in, compete at the qualifiers? Because you've got all these players who from, South Africa or wherever they've played cricket and lived outside of Italy their whole lives. And they don't really have that structure locally that we're talking about.
You need that.
Especially in comparison to a Scotland or a Netherlands might. Yeah. And then they've taken one spot from the European contingent at the World Cup. How is that fair to those countries who are putting in time, money, and effort to develop the sport locally?
It's not fair, but again, as you go back to the start, you talked about the rules, and they played within the rules, which is all they need to do at the end of the day, which is unfortunate. So they need to adjust the rules. Should they have a quota on this then? Should it be 50% local and 50% naturalized? I don't know, but I think they said Canada has like 14 or 15 weren't born here. Italy was 13 of the whatever, or 15 of 15.
It's astronomical, but I think the biggest difference is most of the Canadians actually are living in Canada and playing in the local comps, right? So they've come in and they've put in whatever their 3-year time requirement is for them to be able to eligibly represent the country, which isn't necessarily the case if you've got the citizenship of a country, right?
Yeah.
That's just for residency purposes.
And I think there's no competition in Italy, so they're going to say, what do you want me to do? Right? I can't play in Italy because there's no competition there. So maybe that's what the ICC needs to focus on, to say, to get to this point, you need to have competition in your country.
Yep. This is where they need to mandate those pathways. They have to. That should be an eligibility criteria. If you want to represent at a regional qualifier, a global qualifier, show us the numbers of what you're doing to develop within your country.
And I think if they put that in, it will be very helpful, because, I totally agree with you. And, as a local, you're going to say, who are these people? I don't know these people. They're representing us, but I don't know who they are. I'm not even going to support them because they have no ties with me. I mean, I know nothing about them. So, and it must be tough. And if you go to Italy right now, they're not talking about T20 World Cup cricket. Sure. It's nothing to do with the Olympics. Either the Olympics or soccer.
I must say, actually, there's something that really irked me about CBC's pre-opening show.
Okay.
And the reason why I was a little annoyed, and I don't know if other people felt this way or not, but if you're watching an American sports network, their entire sports are centered to the American narrative and the American population.
Yeah.
I don't know who the two hosts were of this show, but the two women who were hosting it had Italian roots. And the entire time, I'd probably say about 70 to 80% of that 1 hour show before the opening ceremony, they spoke about their ties with Italy and how amazing Italy is. And my whole thing was, hang on, isn't this CBC? And are we not talking about the Canadian presence in Italy at the Olympics? So why are we not highlighting the Canadians of this whole thing? Why are we busy talking about what it is to be Italian and how amazing Italy is and all of your memories from Italy? Where is the Canadian centered representation?
Agreed.
And that's where America differs massively from me, right? Like, they are to themselves number one, always.
Always. It's annoying to watch their broadcast because if you're not American, then it's useless. So they don't cater for anybody. The BBC for me the English are usually the ones that try to be a little balanced. So if you're watching from somewhere else, at least you have a feeling that you're part of it. But
Yeah.
you're right. The American goes a little too far, and the Canadians went way too low down. They should have
Yeah.
done better. I totally agree that this is about Canada.
Yeah.
That's what we're watching for, to see the Canadians there, not about
That's
Italy.
right. That's right. I mean, if I want to go to Italy, I'll go to Italy and I'll see what Italy's
I
about.
see what
But
it's about.
I want you to tell me about the Canadian stories of how our athletes are there,
Up
you know?
there, and what their plans are, and how things are looking for them from a prospect's point of view.
Yeah.
It's what it should be about.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it should be about. So, yeah, that was interesting to see that they took that approach as well. I not sure what is going on there, but and people complain that they had way too many ads anyway. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
weren't happy about that either. So it was talking too much about Italy or having too many ads. It was not a great broadcast in overall, I would say.
Yeah.
So we can look to Cricket Lovely Cricket now.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do
Let's
it.
talk about the 14-year-old first. I mean, let's start with the kids, right? What do you have to say about this young man here? Babab Suravanishi.
Vaibhav
175
Suryavanshi.
on 80 balls?
Can I say it was a very one-sided affair? Can I say
Not
that?
because of
I
this
mean,
kid,
I'm
though.
impressed.
Not because of this kid, though.
No, well, I'm impressed with his records, obviously. He is well ahead of his age.
Yes.
But it also raises some serious questions about how the sport then keeps that balance. And I know I brought this up on multiple occasions in the past where are the bowlers? Where's the sport for the bowlers? And 400 and what was it, 412 runs put up? 411 runs.
Yeah.
That's a lot of runs in a 50-over game. I've got to hand it to England to cross over 300.
At 40 overs.
Solid effort.
So
solid,
they were on their way there.
Effort.
They just lost the wickets, but they were on their way. So the bowling on both sides were getting hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, well, if you're into this game for boundaries and runs, this was the game for it.
Yeah, agreed.
That was a lot of runs.
I feel like from a perspective of viewership, though, it's just, you kind of know 412 runs to chase is going to be a pretty one-sided affair. Even though England gave it a lot of, you know, I know there have been multiple questions asked of what this means for cricket, if it's always going to be so skewed, but just, I don't know. I don't know what this means for cricket overall.
What does it mean for entertainment, though?
Is it, though? This is my question. Is it entertaining? I don't find it entertaining.
For those who don't know the sport, it is. For those who know the sport, it's not. But for those who don't, it is.
The 4s and 6s just don't. You know what is entertaining for me? What is entertaining is what the US have done against India in this first innings. That's entertainment. That is balance. That is an underdog coming in challenging a top dog. That is bowling. That is having a big impact in a game against a side that should have technically dominated the US.
Agreed. And that's what the sport should be about. The competition. I mean, you always want that balance. You don't want this dominant part of the sport where it's all about batting and no bowling. You don't want that. So that's no longer a sport that you want to see. So in my opinion, but people are showing up in numbers because they want to see boundaries, and they get their little placards saying 6 and 4s, and everybody's happy.
I mean, sorry, I've got a cold, but before we get into the games, the opening games of the World Cup, could we just quickly discuss this whole saga with this World Cup that has started with Bangladesh boycotting to now Pakistan boycotting the India-Pakistan game that's supposed to be played in Sri Lanka? Yes. And the impact that this is going to have on Sri Lanka in terms of tourism, loss of revenue.
Huge. They're begging Pakistan to show up. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, they're not talking about the force majeure as part of and I mean, you're ICC, so you probably know more about exactly what those rules are. But they're saying, it's an event that caused this to happen, and the government said no, and that's what they're using. But I don't know if that is even a strong enough argument, and I think they should pay a penalty for this.
Yeah, you know what? When you look at it from a perspective of these are the fixtures we have given into your demands that you will not play in India, because, vice versa, we will not play in Pakistan or whatever it is.
Yes.
The whole setup was, we're going to play this game as an ICC. We're going to play U2 in Sri Lanka. It's a
Sri Lanka.
neutral venue. None of you guys will have the safety issues that you're both, going to apparently face within your own countries. We have met all the requirements that you had proposed, and this is why you're getting a neutral venue. Now, that neutral venue, being Sri Lanka, a small island with a tiny budget from the ICC, depends on these games.
Huge.
And they've planned for them. They've planned for them.
Can you imagine?
The tourism industry is expecting a
Ticket
massive
sales.
influx. And and again, I'm not saying this from a BCCI perspective, a PCB perspective, or a BCB perspective. I'm strictly looking at this from an ICC, an international perspective.
Correct.
How much could you possibly logistically bend for every single country?
Yeah. No, I
right.
agree.
And not just bend, but bend so late in the game. At least if there was time ahead of time.
Yeah.
Time ahead of time. This is a horrible choice of words. But if you had done this well ahead of time,
Yeah,
and brought up issues and said, okay, well, we don't want to play this kind. And I understand there are other countries who have boycotted other country games for various reasons over time. It's just we now need to look at the sport and see, what are we actually playing the sport for? Are we playing a sport? Are we playing a war? Are we playing a political game? What are we actually trying to do here?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the politics has become too strong over that side of the world as a matter of how it is affecting the sport. And I'm very disappointed about the decisions that have been made from, well, both Bangladesh and Pakistan. It's going to be a huge impact on the game as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's not positive at all.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, Bangladesh and Pakistan and Sri Lanka, are going to be losing a lot of money. All these people that booked hotels, and it's just a lot of things that's going up in the smoke because of a political decision, and that's not how it should be. The players, I'm pretty sure, wants to play.
So I saw, and I don't know how true this post is, but I saw a couple of different posts saying that the ICC is reaching a closer agreement with the PCB to actually play. I think somewhere in there, again, no evidence. I don't really know if it's true or not, but they're saying maybe they've negotiated more funding for Pakistan.
Okay.
To convince them to play this game. I mean, listen, the reality is we've all seen how the funding is broken, right, between the nations.
Ingle gets 90% and everybody shares the other 10.
But then on the flip side, the BCCI also brings in 75% of the revenue, right? So in that context, I mean, if they're bringing in the most amount of money, you would think it's only fair for them to get one of the largest shares.
Yeah, it shouldn't affect the teams in terms of not being able to develop the sport because they don't get enough funding while someone is getting all of it. So they need to have a better balance. But you're right, they need to get more than everybody else because they're contributing way more than anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, as Associate Nations, we won't even get started, right? Because we're
it's true. It's true. But
we're millimeters in it.
I know. But I agree if that's the approach the ICC is taking. If let's pay Pakistan to play. Whatever money they pay Pakistan to play is going to be way less than what the benefit of doing it. So I totally agree if that's what the solution is. Whatever they need to come up with, but that game needs to be played.
I'm also keen to see what Bangladesh is facing in terms of sanctions because nothing's been announced yet.
Yeah, I think they're going to wait until after the World Cup. I think that's probably the best thing to do anyway, to wait until after the World Cup to do it.
They did announce a 3-team tournament that's going to be
in Bangladesh.
Yes. Which, in a way is nice because their players are then not feeling being left out. They're not, they're still involved and they're still playing and they're still getting some cricket.
Yeah, I mean, from that point of view, but I don't think anything can beat the disappointment that they must be going through right now. Nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Need that. So that was really, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Pakistan. I mean, I'm not sure. I understand where they're coming from and I love the way that they're supporting Bangladesh, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, cricket is suffering.
Well, let's talk about cricket with Pakistan then. Opening game of this World Cup. And
I thought they were just thinking about what's going on from the political side of things because they look very, very nervous, very edgy. I don't know.
Well, they obviously dominated Australia in the series leading into the World Cup, but the game today was a completely different story. They took on Netherlands. Netherlands put up 147.
Yeah.
And they did not win this convincingly at
They
all in my
barely
book.
won.
Yeah.
Barely won.
19.3 overs. You got nothing from your middle order.
Yeah.
And it took a tail ender to come in and
Save the
get
day.
you over the line in 19.3 overs, right? So
I know,
there's,
three balls left.
yeah, that's,
No, I was saying to myself, you know what? It's always good to get the first one out of the way, and it may not be your best game, but you got the win. But they didn't look good at all, or yeah, it wasn't a good look. But they won.
no, they picked up the win, but a lot of questions about how this tournament's going to progress for them, because if they're struggling against an associate country as
Yeah,
hard as they did today, they're going to have to turn things around pretty quickly for their fixtures coming up.
agreed, agreed. This is my personal opinion. I think they needed to get this one out of the way. I think there was so much going on in the background that it probably affected their mindset coming out onto the pitch, and they know all eyes are on them. So I think maybe they just need to get this one, and they probably will start settling in. They're in the World Cup now. Let's forget everything else. Let's get locked in, and I
Yeah.
think you're going to see a better Pakistan going forward, in my opinion.
It's hard, isn't it, though, when you know your board is going back and forth on a
Exactly.
boycott, there's all this media, there's all this
Yeah.
social media attention. It's hard as players to
And,
get mentally locked in.
and you have family asking you questions and friends asking you questions all the time. It's like, what's going on? What is it? I'd say
I,
it's very difficult.
I almost wonder if it would be beneficial for athletes to check out of social media during tournaments.
Turn it off. You know what? I think some track and field coaches have done that to their
Yeah.
athletes. They're like, no, shut it down. Don't look
I
at
think
anything.
I think it would make it significantly easier to focus on the task at hand.
Agreed. I totally agree. I mean, but how do you tell a big multimillionaire what to do when it comes to his social life, right? That's always the tough part. But no, I totally agree. Shut it down. It's better for them. Some of them don't know that, but it is definitely better for them if they don't
I'm
have.
sure there's research out there on this. I would be surprised if there wasn't. It might not be cricket, but other sports, other athletes, I'm sure there's some research out there.
Yeah, I think they did some in track and field, and yeah, it was the social media it's a huge distraction, and it sometimes get people depressed and all of that stuff. So yeah, they
Yeah.
did do some research from a track and field point of view, and the nasty things that people have to say, about. I mean, cricket is like a team sport, but I mean, as individuals in the team, you're gonna get knocked. But in the track and field, it's an individual sport, and they're
Yeah.
coming directly at you, and they sometimes go after your family and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it is very,
Unless,
very tough.
unless it's crotchgate, because those comments are just,
That's
I
next
haven't
level.
seen comments like that they're gold.
I'm sure you had a good laugh.
Serious, I mean, very good entertainment. I was strictly going from a scientific research perspective,
Yeah.
and these comments,
Then your eyes open up to what are they saying? Oh boy, I tell you, it was very interesting to read some of it.
mhm.
But also this morning, though, we saw the West Indies. Not sure what you're
We
thinking
saw
about
the West Indies. I thought they should have gotten more runs.
it.
I did not see the first innings, I'll be very honest. I woke up at 6:30. By the time I woke up, Scotland had just started batting.
Yeah,
So 182 on the cards. I have to hand it to Hetty. Hetmeyer might have just saved the day today. 64 off 36.
36. Yeah,
And
I
then
think
took an incredible catch in the second innings
second.
to get the
Yeah,
wicket of George Munsey.
yeah.
So he obviously played a very big hand today, put up 182.
It's
I
not a
think
bad
they
score.
would have
Don't get me wrong. It's a decent score. 180 is not. They could have gotten more. You're right. They're probably 15 runs off what they should be at, but I think
Yeah.
it was a fairly decent score.
Yeah, I just think from a West Indies perspective, a few players have chipped in here and there, but I think if it wasn't for Hetmeyer's innings today, they could have been in a little bit of trouble.
And he
Because
only got there
pressure is
yesterday,
a
I
funny
think.
thing.
He only got there yesterday, I think. So
He
they
did, yeah.
almost
He
never
did
had him
come
because he had no
yesterday.
visa.
Yeah. Apparently, he was sitting in South Africa and only just got there. So, obviously, a good win for West Indies. Always good to get the first win in the bag. But I think if the score was a little bit lower, Scotland on their day can surprise. I mean, they've beaten the West Indies before,
Correct.
right? Looking at the Scottish bowling, decent effort, obviously, given that there are some big hitters in this West Indies squad.
A few.
Very interesting to see Oliver Davidson. He's one of the young ones coming up and through their system.
Yeah.
3 overs, 23 runs, 1 wicket, very economical for a youngster. So,
Yeah. It's pretty good.
good on him. Good on Scotland to be pushing their younger talent through.
Yeah.
The batting from Scotland, I feel like there were times where they had it and then they just lost wickets, and
Yeah.
they lost their first wicket very quickly. And then when Brandon McMullen fell, that's when things got a bit choppy because George Muncy went pretty quickly after. But the pivoting point in the game for me was the wicket of Richie Barrington, because he was batting really well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just um,
Downhill after that.
2 wickets really quickly, both set batters, and him and Tom Bruce walked back. So at that point, West Indies was fairly confident.
Yeah, I know. What do you think about Darren Sam is saying it's the bowling that is going to make the difference for the West Indies? He believes it depends on how they perform. I'm not sure if I agree with him totally, but what are your thoughts? Is that where the West Indies need to get better? Because their batting hasn't been good either. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are. Is it the bowling that is going to make them win?
It's an interesting point of view, isn't it? Especially because we've been having this bowling conversation with T20 cricket quite often.
Yeah.
I think with the West Indies, their batting has not been as steady as they would have liked. So that is a question mark for me. But I could also see from a perspective of why he's saying the bowling will make the biggest difference, kind of like what the US did with their bowling effort today. I think if the bowlers can do their job and limit the number of runs that are put up,
Yeah.
it gives their batters more confidence and just more of a chance to go out and play freely and to feel confident.
I agree.
Which is tough because we know pitches are not really made for bowlers anymore. We know they're going to be under the pump. So I do feel if you can put up a solid bowling effort, you can give yourself a chance. Even Scotland, right? So I would say it's been a decent bowling effort from them to be able to limit West Indies to 182 is not bad. Just gives your batters something to come
play for. Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. It's going to be interesting. I think you have a team that is made up of power hitters, and it's a batting that you're going to, in my opinion, West Indies is all about batting. So for him to say it's the bowling, but I think if the batters show up, they're going to have a shot any game. But the batters have not showed up consistently enough, in my opinion, for them to be considered good.
Well, they haven't been consistent with a lot of things in the last 2 years. But I do hope for the sake of the West Indies and their development, they're able to get I don't see them winning this tournament. It could backfire on me saying this. I don't know. Maybe they surprise us. But if they can pull off a couple of wins and get themselves in a stronger position in this World Cup, it's a confidence thing. I think that they can walk away with.
It is. And I strongly, well, like Sammy's saying, West Indies has won twice. They never gave them a chance in 2016, and they won. He believes they can do it again.
Yeah.
You never know. I think the more I look at this T20 World Cup, it's like there's no dominant team. Any team can show up and win. It's just who gets on a nice to run here is going to win. And we don't know who that's going to be yet. I mean, we spoke briefly about the USA, but I think you're right. I think they have a really, really good team in this tournament. They will be extra competitive, and they believe it's an opportunity to validate what they've done. I don't know. Are you seeing the same, that this is a shot for them to make it to the top?
No, I don't think so. I think this is a team that's worked together closely for a while.
Yeah.
This is a team that believes in themselves, and they've got the skill set to back themselves with that. And I think what is probably an underrated or an underspoken about fact is the coach that they have is someone who's got a really good record in associate cricket and making an impact. Pupudu obviously has coached the US in the past. He's coached Canada twice in the past, had great success with Nepal as well. So this is a man who's a tactician. He is very analytical. He studies the game, studies the opposition very closely. And he has a way of motivating players and creating that belief system within them while making sure that they're ready physically as well. Physically, mentally, he's very good at making sure the players are well-rounded. It's not. I'm actually just looking at the score right now, and the US is 2 down for 11. So obviously not the start that they would have liked.
Yeah.
And so Andres House is back 6 off 9, and their captain is out for Monak Patel. However, when you look at this batting lineup that the US has, everyone can bat.
Yes, all the way down.
Right. So they bat very deep, which
Deep.
is a lot of confidence in that side. However, bowling out India for 100, or not bowling out, but 161 for 9 in their 20 overs is very impressive. And they've dropped a few catches. They've had a few misfields. Like, to me, these are all those little factors that they could have used to continue putting pressure on India.
Agreed.
They are, however, it comes with time and it comes with confidence.
Yes.
But 161 for 9, limiting India, is very impressive in my opinion.
I totally agree. And I think they have done well, and I think they will do well. I think they're going to be extremely competitive. Not, as you said, I don't think they have enough to get them over the hump, but I think they're going to be very competitive. And as I said, I don't think there's any dominant team out there that can say we're going to come and dominate. And people feel India can do that, but I don't think they have the team to do that. They have a team that can win, but I don't think they have a team to dominate all the time. And I think the US is going to be competitive in every game that they play this time.
Yeah. Well, the 2 warm-ups were a good sign of that, right?
Yes.
Their first warm-up against India, they got really close, high-scoring games. Second warm-up against New Zealand, again, got very close. And I really understand, it's a warm-up. You're trying things, you're testing things out. But it's just, it's the thing that stands out for me is the approach in both of those games and the confidence that they've gone out with, whether it's with the bat or whether it's with the ball. And that to me speaks volumes of a nation that's up and coming. And of course, they've got a lot of good things going on. Yes, their board is suspended, and we're not going to get into all of the board related issues. But when you look at it from a performance perspective, their women were 1 win away from making their first ever World Cup. It's one of their best qualifiers that they had at a global qualifier. Their under-19 boys were impressive at the under-19 World Cup. So they obviously have a lot of positives, and it's a good sign of a healthy pathway, and a healthy coaching setup as well. If the coaches are able to put out proper talent and proper skills and proper mentally strong players, it's a pretty good, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm out of words. Yeah, a reflection, I suppose. It's a pretty good reflection of their coaches in that country.
I believe, and I think I sort of mentioned it before, that I think you got to have a system that you can say, this is yours, this is what you're going to use to move yourself forward. Believe in it, spend the time to get it right. And I think they have done that. Australia sort of did that years ago, and it showed. I think you need to do something like it. Takes money, though, and it takes time. And it takes committed people. And I think the US has all of that. The money, they got the time, they got the committed people. And it seems like they have the right people at the top to drive the motivation for the kids coming up or the teams that they have to do well. So I like what they're doing over there. And I think it's fantastic for the sport, because the US is a huge country. And to get them on board, it's really good.
Yeah, big country, big population, big market.
Huge.
Yeah, I think Major Leagues played a big part in that. Minor League and Major League. And recently, Major Leagues now, or no, I shouldn't say Major League. I think it's the Seattle Orcas who have actually brought in a couple of female players from their national team as ambassadors. And there is growth and there's push in trying to now get the game going for the women as well.
Yeah.
Those are all signs of good development, good direction of where they're going, right?
Good system in place to grow. As you say, development pathway, which is very good. I am very impressed with that. I like what they're doing. Well, I was looking at the West Indies, and they had their competition, and it was 3 games. 3 games. And that was it. I mean, Jamaica won based on some bonus points thing that actually didn't quite make a lot of sense to me. But at the end of the day, they only played 2 months of cricket. The women in the West Indies. If you're not playing in one of those big bash leagues or something, 2 months of cricket for the entire year. That makes how are you going to grow? How are you going to develop?
Actually, I had someone reach out to me from Guyana, and this was when I was at the Super 50 last year.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey, I don't know if you could mention this on air, but the reality is we're struggling to get any sort of game time here. You know, we barely have grounds available. We barely have committed players who want to come and play. So we definitely don't play all year round.
Yeah.
We have maybe one or two tournaments in a whole year." And
Yeah.
I'm thinking Guyana's a pretty big part of the West Indies. And if the women's development is that slow in that country, then it's a pretty scary image of where the West Indies is and where they're developing.
There's no development.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's no development or very little development there. And I mean, how can you have a competition where it's only 3 games? That makes absolutely no sense. You're going 3 games. What are you going to do with that? I mean, how is that going to help you? If you're not going to play another 3 games for another 9 months, right? It's just way too little. You're right. I mean, Trinidad and Barbados are usually the big cricketing nations, along
Yeah.
with Jamaica, and they're all suffering. You look, it's older players that are making a mark. It's no one coming through the ranks. There's no development.
They've stalled, haven't they? And for me, it's disappointing to see Trinidad the way they've stalled because
Oh, they've stopped. They've halted.
you know, well, I've kind of been either competing against or within that system for a very long time when I was part of the Canadian team, and we used to have several tours to Trinidad, or they would come and feature, you know, in tournaments here, and we could see at that time. I'm talking probably over 12 years ago now.
Yeah.
And you could see that they had a good pathway in place, that a lot of juniors coming through the
Coming
system, there was stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
And now when I look back now when I look at what it was, where it was supposed to go to where it is now, what I'm seeing is it's a lot of those same players from back then that are still around, and I'm not really
Right.
seeing the young talent come through.
None coming through. None.
They stalled. So that
Like, what
entire
is it?
development, which makes you question, right? So obviously people who are in the system, part of the setup, obviously we want to give them credit for being around.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these positions, these coaching positions, these development positions are supposed to be driven by results.
Correct.
If you're not getting results, I don't care if you've been there for 35 years or 45 years. If you're not able to show me this is what I've achieved,
Yeah.
and this is the progress we've made, your time there means nothing at that point,
Yeah,
because
but
you're there to do a job. You're not there to
you do
just
it.
say, I've been here for 45 years.
Yeah.
If you're
You're
not
just doing it for a
evolving with
long
the
time, but
game,
you haven't done a good job.
exactly, because the point is not to be there forever. The
I know.
point is to be there and be the change,
And be
and to
successful.
continue being the change.
Yes, I agree. And it's not happening at all over there. And it's sad because, you know, you want to see, you know, the West Indies, both men and women, do really well. You want to see all the up-and-coming nations do really well. But at this point in time, it's just a very few that are spending the money and time to do it well.
Yeah.
And
But
it's showing.
we see it in a lot of countries that are developing right now. And I've heard it as well. Oh, well, you know, I've been here for 45 years, or so and so has been in this program for 5 or 6 years. And I'm like, yeah, but what results do you have to show for it? And results need to be relevant too, right? So for you to say, well, we've beat so and so in
Once.
every championship for the last 5 years. And I'm like, well, hang on, can we please look at the statistics of this tournament?
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at the competition and your dot ball percentage is 70%, or your scorecards, some of the teams in this tournament are out for 40, 50. You know, to me, that's not a win.
No.
You know, let's make it relevant when you're saying, okay, well, we've won this many games, but what against what competition?
Competition. And what did you actually do out there?
Yeah.
I mean, the West Indies competition, sorry to go back to it, but, you know, they're playing a 50-over game, and I don't think they made 120 in like most of the games. So it's like, I mean, yeah, you win a game, but what did you actually do out there? You can't call it real cricket.
Well, and I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, but the WPL finals was on Friday as well.
Yes.
And we're looking at women's cricket, 200 plus score in the first innings, chased by RCB. They've now won their second title. But those are the strike rates that women's cricket is now batting at, right? So from the West Indies perspective, that should be an eye opener. However, got to hand it to Chanel Henry. She did
Chanel
have a
Henry.
fairly decent game.
She,
So
she did. She
good
did.
sign there.
She was hitting the ball, and she did well bowling as well. So yeah, it was a good game for her. So yeah, it was a good way to end the WPL. And yeah, they're saying if you're not in there, then you're not getting any cricket. But the WPL is doing well.
Yeah.
You just got to make it there.
Absolutely.
So how do you make it there? Is a big question. All right.
Well, CSK has now shown interest in investing in women's cricket, and it's so funny because a few years ago, against their leader, I guess, the director or their president, Srinivasan, I think he was also the ICC president for a while,
Yeah.
and he is there's a very famous quote where he said, "Well, if I had my way, women would not be playing cricket."
Oh boy. Yeah, I
And
remember that.
they've gone from that to now saying we want to invest in women's cricket. And that's what happens when you make positive, consistent change. You force the hands of people who have once said we don't see any
It's
reason
never
for
going to
this.
happen. Now they see
Now
it has
this
to
is what
happen.
growth is.
It has to happen. So
Yeah.
that's a great way to end the show today. But that is fantastic. Hopefully the investment happens and the growth that we're all hoping for and looking for happens as well.
Yes.
But
At the moment, the US needs to grow 17 for 3.
no, they're not going to make it today. I can almost
So,
guarantee you that. But at least they made it interesting and they made it competitive.
agreed.
So
Agreed.
we'll see. But anyway, this is it for today. Out of time, but it was wonderful as always. The best sports hour on radio, Love Bay, is the best. And yes, we'll do it again next week, where we're going to see and talk to Ingle about how Canada is doing in the T20 World Cup. That's going to be interesting conversation.
Absolutely. Monday, game 1.
Game 1 on Monday against your favorite team.
I'm torn.
All right. See you guys next week. Take care.